have been influential to me, books or pamphlets I've read, and I'm going to do that again with this presentation. But I want to start by reading you a passage from Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. Now, I have to tell you, I read Atlas Shrugged 20, 30 years ago, and I felt like I had to plow my way through the 1,000+ pages and force myself to finish the book, and honestly, I'm not sure I ever did. I went back and read Atlas Shrugged several months ago, and I can tell you, after working in the industrial world, being married and having 4 kids and a house and living life, that book meant a lot more to me the second time around. I encourage you to read it. It's really a great story. But let me read you a passage from Atlas Shrugged. Hank Rearden has been accused of breaking some regulations the bureaucrats have made about Rearden's steel business, having to do with how much or how little steel he may produce, when and to whom he may sell or not sell. Now, those of you who think that Atlas Shrugged was far-fetched when you read it, I suggest, as I mentioned, read it again, and you will see that we're right there in the middle of all of this. So the bureaucrat Floyd Ferris from the national government says to Hank Rearden about the fact that he broke a regulation, quote, "You honest men are such a problem and such a headache, but we knew you'd slip sooner or later. This is just what we wanted." Hank Rearden says, "You seem to be pleased about it, Floyd." And Floyd Ferris says, "Don't I have good reason to be?" Rearden, "But after all, I did break one of your laws." And the bureaucrat Floyd Ferris says, "Well, what do you think they're there for?" Ferris continues in Ayn Rand's book, and he says, he makes this speech, and Ayn Rand loved to follow up the dialogue to make the point, just in case we've all missed it, which is why this book is 1,000 pages. Quote, "Did you really think we want those laws to be observed? We want them broken. There's no way to rule innocent men. The only power any government has is the power to crack down on criminals. When there aren't enough criminals, one makes them. One declares so many things to be a crime that it becomes impossible for men to live without breaking laws. Who wants a nation of law-abiding citizens? What's there in that for anyone? Just pass the kinds of laws that can neither be observed nor enforced nor objectively interpreted, and you create a nation of lawbreakers, and then you cash in on the guilt. Now that's the system, Mr. Rearden, and once you understand it, you'll be so much easier to deal with." Dr. Winston Chu earlier today talked about Burma. He painted a picture of what our future could be. I would like to suggest to you that the future is now and the future is here, and we are living in a far greater society of lack of freedom and abrogation of freedom than probably most of us realize. And I'm going to give you some of that data. You know, agency heads of bureaucratic agencies that are unelected officials are like any of us. They want to do a good job. They'd like to have more control over their environment. And unless you're a psychopath and go to work every day believing that what you do is a complete waste of time, you have to feel like you're contributing to society. So if you're in charge of an agency that's trying to get control of certain conditions in the U.S., whether it's control of terrorists or control of pollution or control of drug use or anything else the agency is chartered to manage, you as an agency head will try to pass laws or create regulations that are designed to cast a wide net over the entire population on the misguided belief that you have the best of intentions and you'll never use these laws to trap innocent people. You'll use them only to make sure it's easier to get the bad guys. My fellow Americans, it's not supposed to be easy to get the bad guys. Our Constitution deliberately made it difficult. Why? because the founders had lived under a system for centuries where power-hungry people in monarchies and feudal systems used their authority to make life difficult, expensive, and unfree. In contemporary times, we might possibly be able to excuse the Bush administration after the terrorist attacks for passing legislation that effectively violates several of our basic amendments to the Constitution because they want to catch terrorists more easily. And some of us felt that was okay because we believed the Bush administration wanted only the power to catch the terrorists, not the power to restrict our freedoms. Some believe that Bush believed in the Constitution and the principle that government exists because we voted into power, that bureaucrats and legislators work for us, not the other way around. When I say passage of legislation makes it easy to catch the bad guys, we must first understand who the bad guys are, and second understand that eventually the bad guys will be the ones in power, and they will use that legislation against us.